Lipstick blind. Why do I climb these heights for you? Twisted muse always gets my shit confused. What's a man have to prove? Do I have to walk the knife?
All right, episode 39, Armchair Chirpers. We got some special guests in the house tonight.
Do we ever?
Local celebrities. Small town strip club.
We'll take it.
Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for coming in, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thanks for
having us.
having us. We appreciate it.
I do understand the biggest Leaf fan sent his regards, though. Brady.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's taking a sick day today.
Yeah, Jimmy's busy too. Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
You know. So how you guys doing?
We're good. Yeah, just a regular work day for me, but yeah. Other than that, just made it in and looking forward to get talking.
And things have really taken off for you guys.
Yeah, it's been a good couple years, I would say, like the last couple years. Last couple months have been awesome too. We're kind of wrapping up a few things that we'll get into, and yeah, it's really exciting. We're kind of looking forward to the start of the year. I think is when we're really kind of ramping things up.
All
Yeah.
right.
So for those of you that don't know, like we're familiar with these two good-looking guys, but the blonde, we have Noah Bolger, locally born and raised.
That's me.
And then we got John Yunt. John, are you born and raised too? Or
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
Still a local boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something that's really cool to hear you guys and how well you're doing at this point with your career is I was at the original job site launch for Twisted News. What a great crowd. It was my first introduction to you guys, and that was in 2020, just before the shutdown. And, I walked away and I was with some friends, and I'm like, sorry, who are those guys? Like, you just had a great sound. You had a great stage presence. So as I've watched your journey, to hear about, the end of 2023 with some of the breakthroughs that we'll talk about, and also, your 2024, I mean, your summer was just lit up with everything going on with you guys. Again, we'll get into that, but congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are doing a great
we
job.
Appreciate it.
Start this off. Where did the name come from?
I came from my old man, Fred Yunt. Well, actually, I got.
Was he talking about a strip club?
Yeah.
Because, was he talking like the Empire, High Thighs?
Hanover.
Solid
Nickies?
Golds, no. None of those, actually. Actually, I need to rewind a bit.
Okay.
Technically speaking, it came from the Jim and Taz show on FM 96.
Right.
They had a segment called Small Town Strip Club. And we all listen to FM 96. In fact, I would say the majority of our musical influences, will be getting spins on FM 96.
Right.
But I was unaware of the segment at the time, and it was because it's just a brief little segment, a radio hit where they have a goofy little thing where people will call in, and I guess they would name two strip clubs. One of them was an actual strip club in North America, and one was just
Right. They would pick a city, and then they would say
Yes.
one is the real name, and then they would have a couple of fake ones. And
Yeah.
the guy who was called in had to pick the right one, and then he won a prize.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah, so pretty much we had probably 3 band names when we were first starting out. We were just tossing them around, and then it came to one of our first gigs where we got a little bit of a bar tab that we could put some beers on our band name. And so we needed to decide which one we were going to stick with, and we just said that one, and we just stuck with it ever since.
That's awesome.
Because it's a great name.
Yeah.
Like
It
people
is.
hear
It's-
it and they go, "What?" And I'm going, "Yeah, small town strip club."
It's
They're a
super
great
catchy.
band."
Oh,
You
Well, we
know,
appreciate it.
Like
Yeah.
it's edgy, but it makes you giggle, right? Like
Yeah.
male and female, they're going, "Wow, that's
Well, especially with your logo too, starting out with the fluorescent light and part of your title, which is
right."
Yeah, for
just
sure.
pretty cool.
Yeah, it took us, I don't know, it took us a while to know that we were going to stick with it. And, they're we talk about band names a lot. For us, we're at a point in time where we're almost trying to not necessarily I don't know, end the stigma on our band name. Not that there's that much of a stigma, but we're just trying to establish ourselves so people won't think, oh, that's just kind of a goofy name. Like, we want to break through. It just rolls off your tongue, like the Bare Naked Ladies or
Right.
the Sex Pistols, or, you know, you could be at your local elementary school and they'll play If I Had $1 Million by the Bare Naked Ladies.
Right.
So you can still make, you know, semi-clean music, which we have some
Yeah.
of that. And,
Sure. Right.
and yeah.
It was just interesting because I was out at dinner last night with my son and my wife in Hamilton. We went down to visit him. He goes to school there, and he goes, "Yeah, you're having STCS." And I said, "What? STSC?" And I go, "What?" He goes, "Small Town Strip Club." I said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
He goes, "I know like 3/4 of that band, Dad." And I said,
Yeah, that's the acronym. It does shorten it a little bit. I think that's because it is a little bit long sometimes. So to like fit it in for writing, STSC has kind of been the other moniker that we go with. And then explaining to colleagues at work, you know, when you join a new workplace, you know, you tell them and you're in a band, and they're like, "Oh, what's the band name?" And then you tell them, and they're like, "Oh," and then you give the explanation, and then, you know, they're like, "Yeah, that's cool." But yeah, I always kind of lead with a song, you know, is like check out the music first and see if you
Yeah,
like it.
For
you know?
sure.
Yeah.
Well, and Taz, when you guys were on the show, like talking to him and stuff, and said, "Hey, look at, you know, got to admit, we took your name from, you know, your little bit," and they were good about it. Like, they're like, "Love it." You know, I loved it how Taz and Jim said, "Run with it, guys." The way that you guys did, you know, later on down the road with Spittin Chicklets, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah, well, they actually had an ongoing bit from us taking their band name. Like, even back when we were like playing Molly's gigs as fairly like strictly a cover band, like we would do 1 or 2 originals. They heard that we were playing at Molly's or Bentley's, and they kind of gave us our first shout out on the radio there.
on.
But they also, it was like a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek shout out, because for like probably 3 years, Taz said he was going to sue us if we made it big.
Really?
Yeah.
Everyone's got their hands out.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Then we quote unquote squashed the beef at a show in London, and we had a little video where I gave him a free tee and a free band hat, and said he gets into any small town strip club show for free for life, and that was we settled out of court. So.
That's awesome. Your people talk to his people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I guess for listeners too that aren't familiar with the band, and there may be some examples of that, there is 2 missing members tonight. Names are Brady Lewis and Jimmy Flood. And Jimmy does the drums, and Brady is
Lead
lead guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're shout out, guys, and hopefully you're catching this tonight if you're able to, and you know, we'll hopefully have them on another time. But again,
Absolutely.
we appreciate your time tonight, guys, and I think we should get into some stories.
Yeah, exactly. You know, just doing research. Like, I know you guys originally were covering a lot of Canadian bands, like Sheepdogs, Glorious Sons, Arkells, The Hip, Sloan. Tell us, like, how did you guys meet? Like, did you guys meet in high school? Like, how did the band first get started, guys?
Yeah, it was Jim and I. We were at the Masonic. No, it wasn't the Masonic Hall. The Army and Navy,
Yeah.
and there was
Actually, it was the old Legion.
Oh, it was the old Legion.
that
Yeah,
took
okay.
that
it's
time.
a Legion.
"Old Legion."
Yeah. And there was a band called Plants. Our friend Ethan McCarroll was the drummer for Plants, and
Okay.
they were doing a show there, and John was opening up for them, doing his acoustic set, his solo set, and at the time, you know, Jack and Jim and I. Jack was our first guitarist. We're buddies from high school.
Is that Jack Bryan?
Brian.
Okay.
Yeah. And our friend Ben Congram played our very first gig. It was a street party, and he was the vocalist, but he was all right. he wasn't too good, but he could hold a tone. And then, you know, we saw John playing, and we kind of tapped each other on the shoulder. We're like, that guy, you know, he'll be our front man. You know, let's go see if he wants a band. So yeah, after the show, we approached John and said, hey, you know, you want to come together and jam? And at that point, we had just kind of, you know, played some cover tunes. We would just kind of put a list of 5 together and go to Jack's basement and make some noise. But yeah, and then John joined, and he already had a few kind of original tunes that he thought a band would be good for. And then then yeah, that's kind of how that started.
Cool. The old Legion.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it was a staple. Like you'd go in there, cheap drafts. You know, they
yeah.
had
Familiar faces.
Absolutely.
Just
Yeah.
the whole warm and cuddly.
people would go
The
there.
same
like,
guys sitting at the bar all the time.
Well, you would not
Yep.
only have the veterans and like the seniors there, but like a lot of the high schoolers and university kids would go there to warm up because of the price point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before you'd head downtown to Bentley's and all the other hangouts, Boar's Head and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, super great place. So
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. That is awesome. Like everything happens for a reason, right?
yeah.
You go walking in there, and next thing you know, you find your lead singer.
Yeah.
So then you guys start, jamming and doing covers. Were you playing like local gigs here in town? Take us from where it went from after you started rehearsing from that night.
Yeah, I think we played I don't know. Did we ever play a show at the Legion? I don't think so, actually.
No, I don't think so. I think the first one was the Hub.
Okay.
Right, the Hub, and then Molly Blooms.
Yep.
Then we kind of developed a pretty good relationship with Molly Blooms and played quite a few shows there. And then-
Nice. Was that when John Hodson owned it?
no, still in Rob
Rob
Wiggin.
Wiggin.
Yeah,
Wicks?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the first time I saw you guys was there
Oh yeah.
with Wigs. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those
That's
were
a
some
great
fun
venue,
shows.
yeah,
it's
yeah.
always fun looking back, even if we had aspects of our set. Honestly, we've always tried to put on a good show, but even if we had aspects of our set that were kind of janky or whatever, like I still look back on them with like a lot of nostalgia and like still appreciate them for what they were,
Well, I,
sure.
I always saw when I saw you, through town and different venues, so to say, you guys always had a huge following of buddies and their friends and their friends. Like anytime you guys played, like at Molly Bloom's or at Bentley's or wherever, the place was packed, and it's because of you guys. Lots of friends to support, and I just think that was always a really cool thing. And you'd be playing at Bentley's, and we'd run into people who we knew that didn't know you, and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" Well, seeing these guys play. Well, who are they? Didn't take long. You played a few songs and did your thing, and they were sold. So.
Like, how cool is that, though? Like,
Yeah.
you're playing music in your home band at your local watering holes in front of your buddies, and
Yeah.
like it doesn't get.
It was a
whole
party.
lot
Yeah,
better
it
than
was
that.
fun.
Yeah.
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 We were really grateful. I mean, all of our friends, kind of, went along with us for a
Sure.
lot of those shows, and everybody got together, and we kind of timed them so that everybody was back home from school,
Right.
for a long weekend on Thanksgiving or, Christmas holidays and things like that. So,
Right. So you guys would have been what, like early 20s at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We formed in 2017, so all of a sudden that's a long time ago.
Yeah, really.
Wow.
Yeah, 7 years ago. So.
Yeah.
yeah, so we were like 20, 21, 22, I think. And yeah, so it was whenever everybody was kind of back home, we would, call up Molly's or Bentley's sometimes and organize a show. And it was a really good excuse to kind of get warmed up.
For sure.
Yeah. And everybody came out and everybody had a lot of fun. Yeah, and I just, remember everybody kind of crowding the stage and all those kind of cool gigs, which, looking back on it again, we could have kind of cleaned up the set a little bit and had the sound a little better, but I don't think it would have been the same feel,
Well, you're walking, right? Like now you guys are running, but back then, you're trying to figure out who you are and in front of your friends, and like that is so cool that you're doing it in a positive environment. People are having a good time, and from Bentley's to Molly's to all these other venues here in town that you can take advantage of. Like it's
Yeah.
I think one of the coolest spots that I heard you play, and you're doing covers and some original stuff, which was fantastic, but you sang Sex on Fire by Kings of Leon at Bentley's one night, and I'm like, oh my God, like you close your eyes and you guys like just absolutely nailed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, that's one of the first bands. We said John sounds exactly like their lead singer.
I would
Like,
agree
he's
with
gotta,
that.
He's got to do
Yeah.
that, right? So we started learning. We've done 3 or 4 of their tunes now, Kings of Leon tunes.
I think
Over the
so.
years.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're always
yeah.
a hit. Yeah, them and the Killers. The Killers would do really
Right.
well.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
At Molly Bloom specifically.
Yeah.
Get everybody kind
Well-
of down on the ground and get a little, kind of crazy after. Yeah, it was fun.
And
Well,
I
I've
think-
seen some pictures where you've had the Killer shirt on,
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
a good a good show.
And
One of
just-
our influences.
Well, I was just gonna say, you guys, I can tell just with the songs that you've released that have done really well. They're definitely, you can see those flavors in there that have influenced you guys. So, you know, great job with that as well.
Thank you.
Cheers, thanks.
Yeah.
You're gonna get a lot of praise tonight, boys. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we throw it on pretty good.
It's a comfortable environment.
Hey, I do wanna share some of the stick taps. I guess we should call it that. If it's the arm chirpers,
Yeah.
you guys have been doing a really cool thing here. The setup is really awesome.
Oh,
and,
thank you.
We were saying how professional it is, and yeah, it's awesome to have some locals just chiming in, talking about shooting the shit, talking about hockey, talking about whatever. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
And that's all we were looking for. It you know, when Jeff and I started, it was just banter back and forth. You know, Habs fan, Leaf fan.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
can we go with that, right?
Oh, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
It started originally with Jeff and Les, and they were doing that for a few months. And then with the Almonds 100th anniversary this year in 2024, I played on one of the junior B teams that won the Sutherland Cup. Arguably one of the best junior B teams of all time. We had a record, John, of 56-4-1.
There you go.
Like we were off that team. We had like 11 guys drafted pro. I think we had 13 guys get NCAA D1 Scullies. Like it was a pretty good team, and these guys had me on just to talk about the Almonds 100th anniversary and I
and a
don't
little
know.
of the glory days.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
let you go there too.
So I do have a question about the William Almond. So is it true that is it the oldest like rink in Canada that hasn't had like major alterations? I know there's one in like Hespeler or something.
Okay, so I was in Cambridge on Saturday night for the Warriors games. I do the play-by-play for the Warriors.
Yeah.
So we were at the Shade Street Arena, the Galt Arena Gardens, and they have the banner up, the longest continuous running arena in Canada. But the only problem is they shut down for 4 years to renovate. And really the only original thing of that building is the front facade and the roof. Everything, and the metal trusses. Everything else is, they have plastic seats, they have everything. So I always take offense to that because the Almond never shut down when they renovated.
Right.
They've never changed the seatings. They've never, I think they redid the floor one summer.
Yeah, we redid the floor about 12 or 13 years ago.
But they really
redid
have
the
not-
refrigeration plant.
Yeah, but they really have not changed the size of the rink itself.
No, like the entrance of the Almond used to be at the back of the parking lot, like you know where the Zamboni comes out. So that end of the building used to be the entrance of the Almond Arena back years ago when it was first called the Classic City Arena.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, then it was called the Main Arena. And then as my old boss, Bill Allman, as he was getting sick and retired, they decided to rename it. I think he had like 44 or 46 years of service. They decided
That's
to
awesome.
rename it the William Allman Memorial Arena. So
And full disclosure for you guys, Razor, how long was that your home for work?
30
At the Almonds?
years.
30 years.
30 years,
So
yeah.
that was his baby for 30 years. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
pretty cool.
It's a
That's
grand
awesome.
old building, and when you travel on the road and people say, "Oh, you guys play out at the Almond Arena," and we'd like to go see that. And I call it the hockey cathedral on Morenz Drive because that's what it is. You know,
Oh, yeah.
there is not one we go to now that stands up to it.
Oh, yeah.
They're just hard to find, right? There's
Yeah.
older rinks. There's one in Boston, which is the oldest
Oh,
oldest
okay.
ice rink on record, but it hasn't been continuous. But there's older rinks out east, but they're not ice rinks anymore.
It was interesting. Like you guys would probably remember the old Christmas tournament that we used to have, and then they turned it into a silver stick qualifier.
Yep.
And when we had Tim Taylor on, him and I were going over that. Like it was 5 games in 4 days. Like it used to be a huge tournament, and it was really interesting. Like when I would work at the Almond, because that's where I predominantly started. Probably the first 15, 18 years of my career was based out of the Almond. And you would see fathers come in there and they would just like look around because you don't go into it. Like the Almond is a hockey rink. They build a multi-purpose sports facility now, right? Where they have hockey and, you know, all sorts
Swimming
of different
pool,
things. Exactly.
stuff like
Which
that.
is honestly more you get a better bang for your buck the way they build, the
Yeah.
facilities today. But that was specifically built just for hockey, which they don't do anymore. Like if you spill your pop, it's leaking through the floor into the dressing room and stuff. It's just got character.
Authenticity.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You bang your head off the girder when you're in the dressing
you
room.
gotta watch for those beams.
That was one.
exactly.
So if Brady's watching or listening, I just got a text from a regular on the show, Brian Hawley, and he asked where Brady was, and I said, well, he's sick. He said, well, is that because there's a quota on the number of Leaf fans allowed on the show at the same time? I said no.
A little too concentrated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did actually say though that if we ever have a question that's mostly geared towards Brady, then we can call in a friend, and he says he'll chime in.
Good stuff.
Love it.
So I think we should probably bring up the elephant in the room, and I'm really excited to hear this story, and I think it was such a great story and a good experience for you guys. For those who don't know, the number one hockey podcast globally, I would say North America, but probably globally, is the Spittin Chicklets, and you happen to be involved with them. I'm just going to pull the string and let you guys tell the story, and we'll just sit back and enjoy. But wherever you want to start with that story.
All right. I've got the spiel at this point because
You've probably told it so many times.
I've told it many times, but a lot of people are always surprised at like a couple of aspects about it. But I'll take it back to literally before the Spittin Chicklets podcast. I love listening to music. I listen to music all the time, but I listen to a ton of podcasts. And just after or a few months after, like Dan O'Toole, who used to be the co-anchor with Jay and Dan,
on TSN.
He got let go from TSN.
Right.
He was getting back into being a media personality by starting his own podcast, Boomsies, and I listened to it for the first season or two, or at least that first season, and they didn't have an intro tune, so I just sent him an email, and then about one of our old songs called "Why You Think I Call You Baby," because it just was a riff-based song, and I thought you could like fade it out at one point. And
Right.
so then he was nice enough to be like, "Yeah, I'll use that," and like he used it for probably a year or so, and so we've got into on the podcast scene from him initially.
Nice.
So shout out to him. He's a good guy, and you see his face all over TV now. with,
Right. Yeah, he's doing a lot of commercials.
The bet.
Yeah.
He's on the betting.
Little freelance.
Yeah.
Bet Rivers, he's got all those commercials. But yeah, so I kind of had that sentiment in mind, and then I think it was March 2023, where I listen to Spittin Chicklets every week, I mean, but my little brother was further in the episode, and there was like a 2-minute conversation that Biz had with Grinelli and Witt, I think, and they just mentioned that they used to have like cool hockey tunes to open their podcast, like whether it was like a Rolling Stones song or
Right.
maybe a hip tune or something like that. But then when they scaled up, as things grow, you get flagged for licensing and all that
Right.
copyright stuff. So then they had to pivot to just using like a royalty-free rock song, and they used that for many years. But on this specific podcast, like they expressed the interest in potentially changing it. They did mention that a couple people have sent stuff their way before, but it didn't necessarily vibe with them or
Right.
whatever. So I kept that in mind, and at this point, we had this song that we've played for at least a couple years at this point, with that being Cheap Shot. And we had some band money in the bank account to go back into the studio. And honestly, I thought I was going to have to like really pitch to the band that this has to be the next song we bring into the studio, because I did. I was like, boys, I have an idea for this song, and I know we have other tunes that we might want to prioritize, but I have this crazy idea that I think we could get it to be Spittin Chicklets' new intro song.
I love it.
And they're probably like, fucking John is crazy.
I love it though, because like the way that you put those reels on Instagram, like we were talking before the show, how you had Biz's Coyote shirt on, and you're on the bench there at the Almond Arena, you know, promoting it, why you guys should be chosen for it. Like, I love that stuff. That was so cool.
Yeah, and that was exactly it. Like I knew if other bands have sent their music to them in prior years or trying to get their song on, I knew that maybe they just like found an email or sent a DM. So I wanted to really make it a more well-rounded pitch to, like, you know, we talked about at the start of this podcast, us having friends that are extremely supportive, and they'll help us in various ways, whether that's coming to a show or spreading word about a new song that we drop. So essentially we brought the song to the studio, and we always knew it had kind of a rock'em sock'em vibe, and you know, admittedly, it's a fairly tongue-in-cheek song. Like I always, you know, when I think about songs like Cheap Shot, or like we have another song, Hey Shitty, they're not my personal favorite, you know, like they're fun to play sometimes, but there's an aspect of them, that are tongue-in-cheek, and they're supposed to be a little bit corny in the sense that we're like playing the shtick of for Hey Shitty, playing the shtick of a overplayed country song, playing the shtick of like a rock song that would have been on Don Cherry in the early 2000s. Right. But anyways, I'll get to the points here. But I knew that we needed the pitch to be like kind of well-rounded and well thought out in order to get on their radar, because they have people reaching out to them all the time, we imagine. So I actually made a document on like a couple of different strategies to potentially get on their radar, and it mostly boiled down to making a reel that was a pitch to them, which would have been that first reel that we kind of had the song playing in the background, but you know, I went and skated with a Biz Nasty jersey on, and you know, we all were chilling at band practice drinking Big Deal Brew.
Right.
And
I remember seeing that.
And I drove a golf ball and had a little bit of Pink Whitney after driving the golf ball. So I'm like, let's just hit them from all these angles.
Right. Smart.
Well done.
Smart.
Well,
I remember, John, initially your plan was each one of us would do one of those scenes. You know, you would, you know, hop over the boards, and like, you know, I'd drive the golf ball, and, you know, Brady would be drinking a whole bunch of beers or something like that. But then I think in one weekend we were all kind of dragging our feet, and in one weekend John just like had all the reels ready. He's like, let's go. You know, he's like, I had the whole marketing.
Because hockey
plan
season was coming, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Like you had it down, because you did the hockey one and the golf one in one weekend.
This was like September of 2023 approximately?
Yeah, early September 2023. And yeah, so we hit them with that reel, and then just kind of spread the word, or like told people to share it and like tag them on it. And then it gained a little bit of traction. We had a DM from their producer, Mike Grinnell, and then I decided to hit them with another reel that was like strictly a demo on how the song would like go as an intro, where I like just chopped up videos of them like, you know, doing their thing, and just right to the song, and then that continued to gain traction. And then at this point we were in contact with them, and like their producer was DMing us and stuff, and they were interested in it. However, we didn't know if we were going to get across the finish line or not. So we were kind of in limbo for, I don't know, 2-3 weeks, and all our friends are asking us like, is this happening? And
right.
Like, I don't know.
Because it wasn't an actual contest. It was just you hearing that, hey, because Grinelli went on the internet and said, we're open to it, but it wasn't like an actual contest or anything like that, right?
100%. And I think that's the biggest misconception. It's not even like they mentioned in passing on their podcast, and, you know, you guys probably know from your podcast, you might clip something and put it on Instagram. It was like in the depths of an episode.
Right.
So no, it wasn't a contest by any means. So
we were lucky that Joe, because he like, you know, when you're listening to a podcast at work, you're kind of hearing snippets of it. You focus on your work, you focus on the podcast. So we were lucky that John's brother Joe was listening at that time.
Right.
Because if he was, you know, focusing on his work at the time and missed the part of the podcast, you know, we would have, you know, maybe never heard it, right?
Yeah.
And we rewarded him later for that, but we'll get into that in a second.
Because then, like, I remember seeing that it was brilliant where you phoned in and they had Grinelli, Biz, Wit, and RA all on like, I don't know if it was a podcast or a show, but they were all just sitting there, you know, lounging. You get in on a phone in, and somehow Biz finds out that it's a 519 number, and then tell us that story. Tell us
and
what
that's
happened
that's
there.
exactly what happened next. Is like maybe 3 weeks of like us not knowing whether this was gonna happen or not, and then, you know, we've always wanted to tread lightly and not be too pushy, but we also were like, well, we think this is a good opportunity. And one day at work, you know, I saw on my phone at lunch that at 4 p.m. Eastern, they were having just a pop-up random fan call-in hour from like 4 to 5 p.m.
Right.
So I got home and I asked the guys, I'm like, should I just try to get it on this line and like try to get?
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, we did this already, so we may as
Right?
well try
Might
to.
as well go the distance.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, then they had a phone or a fan phone call-in hour, and then sat around for quite a bit. Not gonna lie, just kind of
For sure.
redialing that number,
For sure.
and then I finally got into them, and it would just give you the classic like ring back like busy line, and then all of a sudden I got into this waiting room like, oh, might be getting
Right.
close.
Yeah, you were giving us live updates in our group chat. You're like, oh, I'm in the waiting room now, and then we started tuning in because we're like, if he gets on, you know, we gotta watch this. You know?
Exactly.
That episode of Spittin Chicklets was wild because I'm a habit listener of Spittin Chicklets, 32 Thoughts, all that, right?
Yeah.
And I was listening to it. I go, I know this band.
Yeah.
This is great. Biz Nasty was like all over the name.
Oh
He
yeah.
loved it.
Oh yeah.
Well, Biz and Grinelli were the only two that had heard it. Wit and RA hadn't heard it yet, but tell us what happened when you get through. You get through, and then what happens?
Yeah, I get through and I just kind of give them. I told them, hey, I'm the guy in the band that you've been in slight contact with, and just wanted to touch base one more time and say we got this tune that we think would be a good fit, and give it a listen if you think it'll be a good fit. And then it was pretty brief conversation, and they actually like I didn't get to hear what went on after I talked to them, so I just kind of thought we just had the conversation. But then, you know, I think we fast forward like I don't know, a couple more weeks or even like almost a month after that, I still didn't really know. And then Grinelli DM'd the band on a Sunday, and he's just like, a lot of small town strip club talk on the podcast tomorrow.
That's
And then I was just
awesome.
like, holy moly. And
Congrats, man.
yeah, then that
Amazing.
Saturday, RA, the day before that, RA, he didn't reply to our original. I think I sent him a DM like we did to the rest of them with those original Instagram clips. And I was watching hockey, and I just get a random DM from RA, and it said, in like Flynn.
That is awesome.
And then I'm like, I showed all my boys, I'm like, in like, what does this even mean?
Right.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that made it in the group chat. We were trying to analyze, you know, what that means. We're looking up, you know, who's Flynn, you know, what
That's
show is this?
He's showing
Taking
his
every
age
word
using
verbatim.
that moniker, but it was cool because like I had watched the clip, and so Biz and Grinelli had heard you guys. Wit and RA hadn't, and especially Biz, like he was one of your biggest supporters because he was like, guys, like you got to hear this song, and so it's like, okay, well, let's hear it.
Yeah.
And so then as soon as they put it on, Biz just starts rocking out, and it was so cool to see him, and then Wit's like looking at RA, and he's like, I like this. You know, like he's got that like New England draw, like I like this, and,
Yeah.
and like you guys just resonated with him, and it was just such a cool story. Like when I was researching, and like, wow, the rest is history. It was funny though because at the end of the clip, and you guys got it on your Facebook page. It was funny because he was talking about the name, like business, like what are they called again, and. I think it was Grinelli said Small Town Strip Club, and he goes, "Oh yeah. I used to work at one of them, the Sundowner." And he was making a joke about his local strip joint. But
Oh yeah.
Because on that podcast, when you phoned in, like after you got off the call with them, Biz Nasty goes, this guy's got balls. He called us.
Yeah. And you know, it does take a certain amount of I don't know what the word is, but like, you know, there's a chance that some people aren't going to like it. You know?
Well,
You put yourself out there.
Yeah.
You really are.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
you're putting yourself out there, but at the end of the day, you had nothing to lose. Like, you guys were
Yeah.
playing with the house money. It could only go up. If they didn't like it, hey, no
Yeah.
harm, no foul.
Exactly.
And you guys caught lightning in a bottle. They loved it. They were not arguing, but they were worried about which part of the intro they were going to use, because and Whit actually pulled out his phone and timed it. And so from the time you got into, you know, Cheap Shot, I think it was like 39 seconds or something. And then he was saying, well, that's going to be too long of an intro. And so it was comical to hear how here's this guy, you know, who phones in, pumping his own band and song to it looked like it was a done deal at that point. Like, you guys were in. It was just which part of the intro are we going to use?
Yeah.
And then it was super cool too how you gave a shout out to Mitz and McCann, Jared McCann.
Yeah.
Like, that was super cool too.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely all follow along to their journeys. Like, I think I was driving a hockey or something like that the other week, and I remember I saw a graphic in the summertime where it had all the leading scorers of every franchise, and it was like a cool graphic. Like, you know, in Colorado you have Joe Sakic, you know, Edmonton you have Wayne Gretzky, and they have all these legendary names, and then all of a sudden Seattle, Jared McCann, and it's pretty cool, you know?
Right? That is cool.
Yeah.
And our Leafs,
The
we had them
leaf.
for a
Yeah,
split second.
The greatest leaf.
Right.
All time.
Yeah, don't get me started on that one.
Oh, don't even go there.
I think they would like, you know,
A do-over?
a do-over, a mulligan on
Yeah,
that.
they're looking for some depth wingers now.
Right.
Well, you had one, and Kerfoot was all right, and Justin Hall.
No. Kerfoot needed to go. And
So
then, and then leading up to that, Kerfoot's going, right? And then they take McCann, and like everybody's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So then tell us what happens after that. You guys, you know, become the intro music to the biggest hockey podcast on the planet. And then what happened there? Did your phone start blowing up with all of these bars wanting you guys to play at them? Like, tell us what happened after you guys, you know, became, you know, the Spittin Chicklets intro music.
Yeah, I think we were all on Instagram a lot that week, so I'm sure Bolger can fill you in.
Yeah, I mean, I was on the. I pay attention to the back end of the Spotify a lot. You know, the numbers and things like that. You know, it kind of plays on the podcast on Tuesday, and you know, we're getting all the Instagram followers and things like that, and people reaching out, and you know, I said, oh, you know, it'll probably double our numbers tomorrow. Like, it's going to be a good day tomorrow, right? So I'm looking forward to it. And I think that day, sometimes it takes a while to update, right? So I'm refreshing. And it was like, something like 20 times the number that we would usually do on a normal day, all for Cheap Shot, right?
Right.
And that lasted for quite some time. And now Cheap Shot's, you know, one of our best streaming songs, obviously, with everybody getting ears on it. But, you know, after that kind of wore off for the first week, we were like, okay, so we have all these people from, you know, especially the United States, but globally, you know, reaching out.
Yeah.
You know, we had people saying, hey, come play in Alaska. We had a guy in Iceland saying, hey, you guys ever want to come here? Like, you know,
how cool is that?
All over the place. Australia, we had Norway, Denmark, we had, you know, people all over.
Wow.
But then, you know, we had a little bit of merch left, you know, from the last merch run that we did, and we said we should probably get some more merch and get a website going. And so that's the next thing we did we got the merch up and the website, and we started shipping merch out kind of all over the place, and so you know, the after effects, you know, especially on streaming are kind of long lasting, but for that first, you know, 2-3 weeks, it was you know, look at the Spotify numbers and then get the merch up, you know,
unreal,
get some merch out to people. And the stories that people had too were awesome, and they were telling us about all their cool bars and places that they want us to play. So we've got a list for a world tour that includes some really cool places if we ever get there, you know.
Yeah, we can at least get 1 or 2 people at those bars.
Right. We might have to message them on Instagram first and say, hey, remember when you told us to come out? You know, you better be there.
Norway.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic, guys. So we're gonna take a quick break, but when we come back, that was just the beginning. You guys then go on CKCO TV. You guys basically overnight stardom. You guys are one of the biggest names up and coming, all because of you guys getting on a podcast. So we'll start out with that when we come back, and we're gonna
Do some
acknowledge
sponsors.
some of our sponsors.
Yes. So at our world headquarters, Reboot Repair, Stratford's best computer supplier and services, personalized IT solutions, hardware, software, repairs, on-site and business services.
SBS Metals, metal fabrication with professional craftsmanship. Stratford's preferred custom commercial and residential metal fabricator.
Domino's Pizza, our friends at Domino's Pizza, Patrick and his team do a great job. Official pizza of the Armchair Chirpers. Get a free large 3-item pizza if you go on our YouTube page, subscribe, come on into Reboot Repair. They will have a coupon ready for you. 2 locations, Ontario Street 406 and Huron Street 536.
And Joe's Diner, official breakfast and lunch diner of the Armchair Chirpers, home of the world-famous Perth County Breakfast, number 4, locally owned and operated by the Myers family.
All right. If anybody wants in on the live chat, it is fixed. You can refresh your screen during the intermission. Cam and Dylan, we're all over it because somebody made this a kids podcast to begin. It's all good. All fixed and ready to go.
There's
We'll be
probably a
back.
whole bunch of women that follow you guys wanting to, chime in and ask you guys questions.
Any
So
questions? Any questions? Send them in. We might see them.
Yeah, the answer is Boulder's married and I'm engaged.
All right. We'll
All
be
right.
back. All right, we're back.
We're back here with the
Small
lead singer,
Town Strip Club.
John Young, bass and keyboardist Noah Bolger.
Yeah, Brady Lewis is off sick, the Leaf fan, and Jimmy Floodkin could not make it.
Can make it tonight.
So-
He's a Leaf fan too.
So 3 of you went to high school together.
No, 2.
2.
Two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our original guitarist Jack Bryan went to Stratford Northwestern
Yeah.
at the
Okay,
time.
yes,
yeah,
yeah,
with
yeah.
Jim and I. So Jim and I went to high school together. We were in the same grade. We're the same age.
Yes.
And John, you were St. Mike's.
Yeah, St. Mike's 1 year older than Brady Lewis was Central 1 year older
Yes,
than me.
yeah, because
Yep.
that's where Jordan knows Brady from, and then you guys from
Yeah.
Northwestern, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're all local, but just separated by a couple years and
Right.
and schools.
Yeah, I always think it's great when you see local band name with Big Wreck, and it's like, wow.
Yeah,
You know.
that's cool.
And just Big Wreck coming to Stratford,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that
we're
was a
starting to get
fun
a lot
show.
bigger,
Yeah.
a lot more bigger bands coming this way lately, playing small venues because that's where they want to do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they do transform the Rotary Complex into quite a unique venue, and
Yeah.
they can pack a lot of people
Yeah,
in there.
Exactly.
Actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a really comfortable concert experience. It's not too
Yeah,
packed.
because
There's
they got the
plenty of
chairs,
room.
they got the tables and chairs at the back end, and then
Yeah.
standing crowd at
Yeah,
the
and
front.
they've got
So
all
you
the
can-
windows for all the bars you need.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can sit and have a beer and listen to the music, and
Yeah. Yeah, the merch can be outside too, so you can actually, converse with the merch guy. Don't have to scream at him.
Right.
Yeah, they do a really good job, and we can shout out Spotty Dog Productions and Ralph at Spotty Dog for, getting us on that bill, and that was a really cool show. And we're looking forward to what we can do with them and what we can kind of bring into Stratford too, because like you said, I mean Stratford's kind of been waiting for some bigger bands and acts to come through, and there's been a lot of small towns. I live in Woodstock, and we do a big dairy festival every year, and that is one of the main draws, is bringing in some big bands, big acts. So I think
Yeah,
Stratford's
you guys
definitely
had
been
like
waiting for
Sam Roberts come in this past summer. For
Was that is that
Cowapalooza.
Cowpalooza?
Yeah.
Colin
Yeah.
James was there 3 summers ago, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I know
huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The
Huge.
fall-
Yeah.
the fall fair in Woodstock used to get big bands in it one time
Yeah.
too, right? So
Yeah,
it's
the
nice to
Norwich
see
Fall
coming this
Fair is
way.
big
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it always amazes me how you can have down in London Rocks the Park, and because it's all weather based, right? Like, and if it's gonna be cold or pouring rain and stuff like that, like, who the heck wants to be out during that? But what's the other one? Boots and Hearts. Like, those are huge concerts, and you just think the financial responsibility that the organizer takes on, to try and make sure that he sells enough tickets and can pay the performers, make a profit. Like, it's a big risk.
You guys had
Yeah.
an experience like that with a festival this past summer?
Yeah.
Music in the Fields?
Oh yeah, yeah. That was our first true festival gig, like outside of town, and it was unbelievable. And yeah, we won a contest to get a slot there, a Music in the Fields Emerging Artist contest, and yeah, again,
How many people are you playing in front of ish?
it's tough to say because there's 2 stages.
100,000? 80,000?
That'd be crazy.
There were tens of thousands of people that were present at the venue or in the general area. I would say and we were on the side stage, and then there's the main stage. The main stage is like huge, like there's a walkout platform and
Right.
all that stuff. But they were in the general same area, like you could see the main stage from the side stage, and we had a really good crowd in front of us there, and one thing that we were really happy about is we definitely made an impression, because when we went and picked up our merch from the people that ran the merch in the merch tents, just from the amount of sales that we made and new faces that got introduced to our music, the people running the merch tent were flabbergasted that we weren't a main stage band. They're like, wait, you're a side stage band and you sold this much merch?
Yeah.
And yeah, they told us we sold more merch than some of the main stage bands. So
Really?
it was cool that we
So
made a good impression.
That is cool.
When you're in that atmosphere, and outdoor festivals are a whole different monster, I guess you could say. But with that being said, guys, you got to explain how does that feel when you're looking out over the crowd and it's a hot summer night and you guys are right in your zone playing your tunes? Like, that's got to be an amazing adrenaline.
Yeah. I mean, Music in the Fields, we were talking about the logistics of festivals, and it's run incredibly well. Like, when we showed up, it was, really seamless getting to our camping spot where we were, and getting backstage. And we had, the treatment that all the other acts did. We had access to all the food and the shower facilities that they had.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah, I mean, we would, go back in a heartbeat, even though we won the contest, right? But,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was kind of nice because we had one set that was kind of, the sun was kind of coming down, the night was getting started, and some of the bigger acts were coming on. So that was a good warm up for the second set. And at that point it's nighttime, right? So the main stage is all lit up and there's all the vendors. And,
right.
And I think the coolest part though was just, going back to the merch booth after, and there was a few people kind of waiting around to, get autographs. And I had to tell a bunch of people, it's like, we don't sign stuff. This isn't a normal
Bulger's
thing.
a prima donna. He wouldn't sign anything.
Yeah.
No,
But
no
Who do I make
pictures.
this out to?
But they're kind of, asking us if we will sign. Of course we would, It's
Right.
just we don't really get asked a lot.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, the merch
get
the
used
merch
to
did
it.
well because we came in with a little bit of a lower price point than some of the other bands. So
okay.
and the
That's
night,
why it was moving. And
yeah.
Wow.
Well, and
Well, I think that truly understands where you understand your market.
Mm-hmm.
You understand where you are, the bands that are playing, the opportunity that you guys have. And, at this point, I think that when you get that amount of exposure and they want to take a piece of you home with a merch, it's reasonable.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great strategy for marketing for sure.
Well, and they told us too. We had some hoodies, and they said, every year the night kind of cools down, and everybody kind of comes out of the crowd,
right.
and then they get cold, right? So
Yeah,
then they
yeah.
go and find a hoodie, right? So that we saw a bunch of people with the hoodies, and that was really cool to see. Even signed some merch that wasn't ours. we thought that they were mistaken, and we said we're not those guys, and they said we know we just want the signature. So that was kind of cool.
There were some pretty big names there.
Yeah.
Glorious Sons were there. The Reclaws, who were just on America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Brett Kessel.
Yeah.
Kessel was there. So you guys are right in with the big time names, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
we
cool.
were sandwiched, I think, in between Kit Moore, the Cadillac 3, the Reclaws. We were, kind of right in there. So yeah, I mean, it was awesome to have, kind of more of the country audience there too, because the night before had a bit more of a rock influence with the Glorious Sons, because we're more of a rock band, but we've got that kind of country twist.
Right.
So yeah, we had a lot of people who
You can handle that
were
crowd,
country
absolutely.
fans and
Now-
they enjoyed our stuff too.
No, pardon me for. Am I understanding that you had 2 sets over the course of the weekend? Oh, you did. Okay. So how did that look?
Yeah,
Was
so I forget exactly what the times were. One was, maybe 6:30.
But was it in one day or over
Yeah.
the weekend?
Yeah, so it was the one day.
Okay.
I think we were on the Saturday. So we were there the Friday. We went to the Glorious Sons show, and we all got pretty messed up that night. And then we had to
Like
sleep
with your directions? Or?
yeah, we got lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Got lost in the field.
Yeah. We were staying in a tent, and we had really good neighbors. They gave us a generator to use and things like that. And, so the next morning we were kind of not ready for the show. But, once the day kind of went on, we got a shower and some food backstage. We were kind of rocking and rolling. And after the first set, I think we were buzzing and ready to go for the second one.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And we didn't have any repeat songs too. There were 2 half-hour sets, and we wrote our sets that the first one would be like melodic and good, and but we really built it up for the second set to be just like right at you.
Yeah.
And I think we definitely pulled that off, and we're really happy about
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Because you guys have a lot of diversity. You can do a little bit of country with Hey Shitty, and you get things fired up like rock, obviously, with Cheap Shot, and then your latest release. I liked how you guys described it. It's a bit of Elton John and Bruce Springsteen. So
Threw on a record.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
got the keys in there. Yeah.
And I guess it's needless to say, but for people who are watching or listening through the week after our live broadcast here, be sure to check these guys out if you're not already following them on their social media channels with Facebook, Instagram, any other channels you want to throw out there for your social media attributes. Are you on X or anything like that, or not so much?
Yeah, a little bit on X. We're trying to grow our TikTok a little
TikTok,
bit.
okay.
Right.
Trying to
So
reach that
Small
younger
Town Strip Club,
demographic.
Right.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Are you on
So-
MySpace still? Or?
No, we're not on
Craigslist.
Napster either. No.
But just really encourage every listener who's listening to this episode to follow along with these guys. Their story is so great. It's very humble, and we just keep cheering them on. So
Why don't you tell us about the song that we play at the beginning of our show?
Yeah.
How that
you
came
mean,
about.
Les? You mean the one with over 200,000 hits on
The
Spotify?
one with
Right.
over
Yeah.
200,000.
That was
hits
your
on Spotify.
first
And
song,
yeah,
wasn't it?
It's great that you've let us use that for our show, because I think it builds it up the way what we wanted for our show.
To give you a little backstory
Yeah.
too, Les, and great explanation of that. When I obviously John's in at the shop and Jimmy too, and I was thinking of these guys, and we play, like you say, the AI music, and I just wanted to. I've always been a fan of you guys. I got your poster up in the shop, and it's right in front of my station. And everybody goes, "What is that?" And I go, "That's Small Town Strip Club. It was your promotional poster that Noah brought in because I saw him at your job site launch party, and you guys were out of posters." And he's like, "Really? Like, you want one?" And I go, "Yeah. Like, can are there any more?" He goes, "Yeah, but I'll have to bring it down." I go, "Please do." And anyways, it was great that all happened. But to see you guys launch that, and I just thought it was a really nice, chill, cool, fit song to lead us into every week with us. And when I approached you guys about that, let the record show you're more than willing and open to our requests. So we really wanted to thank you for that.
Yeah, because our royalty budget is nothing.
Yeah, we were told, I think last week, we're broke. Or
There's not much of a royalty budget in any of these podcasts.
Yeah. Well, you guys are being very humble. Like, Climb These Heights, one of your first two songs that you guys released, it's had over 208,000 downloads, I saw on Spotify. Like, that is pretty
It's a
cool.
big deal. And you've
That's
got
pretty
over
cool.
16,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, which is pretty
Yeah.
sweet ass too.
Yeah, that's one medium that you can call. We'll be the first to call it a little bit of good luck, to be honest. Like if we were to release, we as Jeff was saying, we had a release show for a first true original music release, and it was a 2-song EP, and we titled it Twisted Muse, and that was in 2020, early 2020.
February,
and, yeah, and the music scene, or the music distribution, the paradigm has even shifted so much more in 2024 now, that the fact that we were able to release 2 songs on like an unclaimed Spotify profile, and it ended up getting picked up by some like pretty prolific like Spotify editorial playlist, which means an employee at Spotify listened to the song and thought it was suitable to like try to distribute it to a larger audience. So we got on like some playlists like Ready to Rock and Canada's Best Rock, and that's what put a lot of fuel on specifically Climb These Heights. And when we brought that to the studio, like, it was our first studio experience, first time playing to like a metronome, first time like learning how to like craft the nitty gritty aspects of a song. Like, when we first got into that studio, we played Climb These Heights, and it was 5.5 minutes long.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a long song.
Yeah, and our producer and engineer at the time was like, "Okay, it sounds great, but we got a little bit of work to do here," because like we were going for like radio rock. Like, obviously we have some other songs that we wouldn't mind dragging them out a little bit longer if it tells a better story, but we were down to like trim the fat and make it more succinct. And Nick Fetchison, the studio Viking, helped us do that. And at the end of the sessions, he was like pumping the song's tires up a little bit, and he's like, "I think this song could get like 100,000 streams on Spotify." And I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
it's gonna get 100,000 streams."
Right? Yeah.
And sometimes those things pan out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does have that catchiness to it, because I have it on my playlist at the shop, and every time it plays, and I'm not just saying this because you guys are sitting here, people are like, "Who is this?" I go and I tell the story and all that, and the poster, I take pride in that poster. Thank you, Noah. But when you hear something that polished of such a great song with that catchy beat, with the likability that you guys were searching for, it's any demographic that come in the shop too. So, you guys did such a great job with that, and I've even had some texts like we played it for officially kind of the first time last week.
Yep.
I had a few texts saying, "Oh, I like that." You like that aspect because it's not just generic AI music that we pretty much have to play because of the restrictions and copyrights. But yeah. Anyways, that's my
I've had a lot
ramble.
of people comment on it that they like the new song that brings us in.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Yeah.
I will note one thing, that the origins of that song, it did start out with a jam session. I don't even know if Bolger remembers this, but it was just me and Noah in my parents' garage. Like, Noah showed up to band practice before the other bandmates, and I just had the chord progression. I'm like, hey, let's just jam onto this for a little bit and see if I could come up with anything. And then the words just kind of came out of my mouth, and I was lucky enough to get a recording of it. And then ended up moving to Windsor, and I had most of the lyrics written and the melody we made as a band. And then me and my dad just kind of replayed the song driving to Windsor as I was moving to teachers college, and we wrote the rest of the lyrics together driving on a little road trip to drop me off to a new city to live in for a couple of years.
Wow.
So yeah, that was
pretty
was
cool.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Shout out to Fred.
Yeah. I gave him, we had like some credits, some writing credits that we like published when we first put out those songs, and he has writing credits on it.
That's
so.
awesome.
Fantastic.
That is awesome.
Yeah, Fred's all over a lot of the lyrics for a lot of our songs and some of the song titles too. I think, John, you come to the band practice with some refinements that Fred's given you over time, and he's a valuable voice to have, because he was a music teacher, right? So
No, he was a
tech teacher.
Yeah,
Tech
he was a
teacher,
tech
yeah.
teacher.
Tech
He's just
teacher.
always been doing music as
musical.
a side project, a passion thing.
Right.
But I do get heated with him a lot.
Oh yeah.
He'll tell me if he thinks a song's crap, like a song that I'm
really?
working
Wow.
on. He'll let me know about it, and I have to like push back like pretty heavy if I really believe in like a concept,
Right.
because he'll just wince and be like, oh, I hate it.
But that's the passion that drives you, right? Like, truly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessarily, in good heart, but when you get passionate about the stuff that you guys are,
Oh yeah, 100%.
at the end of it,
Yeah.
you get the product, and
Well, if you don't swing for the fences, you're never going to cross home plate, right? Like,
Right.
so I get it that singles and doubles, make you cross home plate, but every now and then, and let's face it, that's what you basically did when you went after being the intro song for Spittin Chicklets. And tell us about when you guys showed up for All-Star Weekend there last February with Spittin Chicklets. How did that all go?
I'm going to make one note, then I'll give Bolger the rest of the spiel here. But this, I mentioned earlier how my brother was the one who put us onto the idea. And then that weekend was his birthday weekend. And I figured we would probably benefit by having somebody, help us carry gear and help us do stuff.
Exactly.
Got a
So
roadie.
he was the manager. So
That's
they asked who was
awesome.
on our team, and I just said the bandmates, and then we have our manager, Joe, and they didn't bat an eye. That's their
Okay.
manager.
Right? Exactly. That is so cool.
Yeah.
So he came along, and it was a heck of a weekend, yeah.
Well, just looking at the videos of you guys like drinking Pink Whitney and like their beer,
Yeah.
big deal beer, and so what was it? It was I forget the name of the event. The Garden. What was
The
the
Winter Elgin Garden
the
Theater.
Garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they had a few different bands, I think, that were playing that night, and you guys come out and your hockey jerseys and stuff with it being the NHL All-Star
Yeah.
weekend. So take us through what happened on that weekend.
Yeah, we were the only band actually.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we played another gig that same weekend. We were smart enough to try to double book ourselves that weekend. So we had the Chicklets show the one night, and then we played at Supermarket on a bill with a bunch of other bands, and it was good because we got a lot of foot traffic coming to that show too.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noah, you say what? What
Yeah,
happened?
no, I mean, I think the Chicklets show was like the Friday night or the Thursday night, leading into the weekend. So I took a half day off work and I went with Jim. We kind of carpooled down there, and we got some details. This is what time you need to show up and kind of where you need to be. But other than that, that was about it. It was just basically show up. So we showed up. We had a bit of a set list ready to go, 20 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever they
Right.
needed. So yeah, other than that, it ran pretty much like a normal gig. We load in, we had a bit of a sound check, which was kind of surprising. We thought that, they would be doing
Right.
work for the Chicklets guys, right? But they, sectioned out 20-30 minutes for us to do a sound check.
That's awesome.
And Biz especially was always kind of around. He would check in on us, make sure things were going well.
Genuine guy, Noah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. He got talking to Jim, a fair amount. I think Jim knows one of his family members. So, and a bunch of the guys would stop by the dressing room that we had backstage. It was the first time we've ever had a, proper dressing room and green room.
Right.
And pardon me, this was in Toronto?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I forget all the faces that we saw. We saw Cujo walk by. We said hi to Jeff Merrick. He said, he was a big fan of the band. We got talking to
That's
him.
awesome.
And, obviously the Chicklets
still
guys
awesome.
came in and talked to us. And it was great. And we got our cue, went on, did our, I think 3 songs that we did as they were kind of wrapping up. And yeah, we all got the hockey jerseys. I think that was a John idea.
That's awesome.
And I was a little worried, right? I was a Flames fan. And,
Right.
And
Ginla.
yeah, exactly. So I found the Ginla jersey on Facebook Marketplace, and I should already have one, right? But
You can't go wrong with an Aginla jersey.
no. And I wanted the old
Doesn't
horse
matter where
logo.
you are.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted
That's
the
their classic
snorting horse.
third jersey.
Oh yeah. So I found one of those. But the live shows are hilarious, right? Because they're getting heckled and people are yelling and screaming. It's like pretty rowdy. So I thought, if I go up there with a Flames jersey, we're gonna have, maybe a couple people
Right.
are gonna be, chirping from the stands. But luckily, it was right at the meet and greet, right? So everybody's focused on getting in line and seeing the Chicklets guys, right? So we're still
Right.
rocking out. So yeah, no issues with the Flames jersey.
Because like 95% of the crowd is young males, right? There
Yeah.
probably
Oh,
wouldn't have been a whole lot of ladies
A lot
there.
of yeah, a
Yeah.
whole bunch of guys,
A lot of
beers.
testosterone in the room.
Yeah.
It was palpable.
Yeah, there was a buzz.
Yeah.
There was a buzz.
If I ask my wife who the Spittin Chicklets are, she's gonna go, I don't know, somebody spitting chicklets on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
She has no clue.
yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was a great time. They treated us really well. Better than we expected. We got to hang out with them, that night and then the next day, and yeah, overall just a banger weekend.
Because after you guys did that, I was reading where you guys were playing afterwards. Like that same month, you're in London, Waterloo, Elora, and then March rolls around. You're playing here in Stratford at Revival House, Hamilton, Welland, London, and then we roll into May of this spring, and you're all of a sudden on a Rock Surge contest on Hits 97.7.
Yeah, yeah, that was another where we find ourselves to be in a. I don't even know if it's a transitional period, but we're in this era as a band where it's like we're trying to put fuel on the fire, and there are a lot of just rock band competitions
Right.
that offer different incentives to kind of get bands that have been grinding some different exposure. So yeah, Hits FM based out of Niagara region. We
Love that station.
Oh, it's a
Like,
great
one of my
station.
favorite
John,
stations.
could I just
Yeah.
say really something quick? So this, I guess, is it called Battle of the Bands ultimately, or
It's called Rock
Rock
Search,
Search. Okay,
yeah.
so out of St. Catharines, and I lived over there for 10 years, and I mean, this isn't any small contest. The products of these band searches are the Trues, Finger 11. There's some pretty major acts that come out of that. And I'm going to let you tell your story, but when I heard about the fact where you guys were able to get to, it's a big deal.
It's a big
It's
deal.
another big deal. So I'm going to let you guys explain your journey, but I just wanted to preface that for the listeners and the viewers that this contest has been going on for a lot of years, and yeah, away you go.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a few phases to it. There's a voting phase to get you in. A top 12 is like hand selected by like a panel that's affiliated with Hits FM, and then there's a fan voting period where people vote you in to get into the top 6, and then you drive over to St. Catharines, play a set at the warehouse, and have a battle of the bands with 5 other bands, and then a panel of judges ask you to come back in 2 weeks if you make the top 3. And yeah, we made the top 3, and we put on we laid it out on the line.
That's
And
all you can do, right?
How many songs did you play?
It was half-hour sets, so I don't know.
And you just put it all down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we did 5, no, maybe 6 songs.
I think we squeezed 6 in.
Yeah, because we just right into them back to back to back.
Yep.
But yeah, those contests, we've done it 2 years in a row now. Even beyond just the potential of winning the contest and moving forward.
Yep.
It's one really good exposure because everybody that isn't directly a fan of the bands is there for new music, right? They're radio listeners, they're
Right.
rock listeners, and then you also get to be with all these other cool bands.
Yeah.
Right, and that opens up a lot of opportunities down the road. And like you said, with the winners, that go on and do a lot of huge things, you become friends with them. We're friends with the Feral Minx. They were in it both years and won last year.
That's cool.
And then the year before, Gravely, they're local guys to the Niagara region in
Okay.
Welland. And they're awesome guys, and we've played shows with them and have the opportunity to play shows with them in the future, right? So we can go to KW and play with the Feral
Yeah.
Minx. We can go to Niagara and play with Gravely. And we've had a lot of people kind of come up to us and say, hey, we found you at Rock Surge. We were there. We liked your set. And it's always just a really good time.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Really, really quickly, and the reason why I appreciate this journey of yours so much is because in 2009 I lived in Windsor, and CBC had this contest for best dive bar / concert venue, small concert venue, and it went down and saw it. And long story short, there was 3 bands that went on, did a great bunch of stuff. There was this band in a minivan and a U-Haul, and I went back, had a beer with them, and I said, guys, you sound really great. Like, the guy goes, oh, we're just starting out. We're going to do our first official cross nation tour. We've got some sponsors and all that. And, their name was the Arkells.
Wow. That's
There you
cool.
go. That's cool.
And I'll never
Hello.
forget that. And, that's why I seriously appreciate the grind that you guys are doing, because these guys were just like you guys, approachable, have a beer with, and we had great conversations. And I just want to tell that story because it just means a lot as well, what you guys are doing, putting in the work and understanding
We
things.
totally appreciate that, and I think that's one thing. Like, to give you the full encapsulating picture of our dealings with Rock Search. So we were in it not this past in 2024, but also in 2023. We made it to the top 6 in 2023, and then won to get into the top 3, and then we ended up finishing 3rd. But we had it was nothing but positives from that situation, and then. For one of those positives being we met this other band in the top 6, the Feral Minx, based out of Kitchener-Waterloo. And one thing we pride ourselves on being in gigs, whether it's like a gig that everybody's working together to put a good time on, or there's a level of competition, is like we just want to be good guys. We want to meet other cool bands.
Sure.
We want to, if anything comes out of it, you have new friends and new relationships and new
Right.
fans. So we've never walked into any scenario thinking like, oh, we're against these guys. Like,
Right.
let's stick it to them. We just go into it and thinking we're going to play our best set and rock out, because that's what rock and roll is all about.
For sure.
And hopefully we can make some new pals and keep this thing that we got going moving forward. And then so this past year, our buddies the Feral Minks, they took the dub.
Oh,
Yeah,
did
they
Okay.
won, and they were able to parlay it into a lot of cool opportunities. They just dropped an EP last week, Young Desire, and they've just been doing some crazy cool stuff, and we love those boys. And
That's
we'll
awesome.
we'll always play shows with those guys and vice versa. And so we had 2 years in a row, and we're currently in a band state where we're iffy on whether we're going to throw our name in the application, whether we try to sweep the podium,
Right. Why
or-
not?
Yeah, we're still going to think, Niagara's a long drive, but we're weighing the pros and cons, and we've got a lot of support now in the Niagara region from that competition. So we're contemplating on whether we'd be a good fit or not. But regardless, our involvement with Hits FM and those folk there, like when we had this Spittin Chicklets thing, Soper and Brown, who are like the face of that radio station, and they're also involved in the competition. They asked me to drive to Niagara and come out, do a morning piece on like Chiclet or Cheap Shot being picked up by Chicklets. So I went to Niagara.
Are they still in the White House?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome
It's
guys.
literally a White House. Like it's a house in
Really?
a neighborhood, and that's where they rock out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hits FM. Yeah, it's been incredible.
That is.
Yeah,
Miss Iron Mike
those
every
guys
day.
love bands like us. Like that's, sometimes you meet people in music and they're kind of moved on to some of the bigger bands, but these guys are always champions of those local
The
bands.
grassroots.
That's awesome.
That's what
They've
they
always
do.
proved that too, and unfortunately he's passed now, and it's too bad. But Iron Mike in the morning was like legendary.
Yes.
His radio voice, his show, his notoriety to what you guys are pertaining to with local talent and smaller bands that are just grinding to get a little bit of exposure, and kudos to that radio station for
sure.
I mean, I don't know exactly how long the contest has been going on, but it's definitely been a while.
Mhm.
And
probably
it's just
probably like 20 years.
yeah.
at this
I mean, how long
point,
have the
yeah.
Trues
Wow.
been around?
Yeah.
Figure 11.
Yeah,
I mean, those are
exactly.
products of that.
Right.
I'm not saying they're the only ones, but to listeners and viewers who are looking for notoriety of the contest, it's a big deal what you guys did, even if runners up. So
Yeah.
congrats, man.
Thank
Well,
Well,
thanks. Yeah, appreciate it.
And the thing, like with social media, I think you guys do a really good job. Like, obviously, that's what you got to do to succeed, right? Like, why not use social media to get your word out there? You did that for Spittin Chicklets, but I also thought it was really clever when you guys were trying to drum up votes for the Lucknow Music in the Fields. When you and Brady were sitting there doing the acoustic, doing the I Had Some Help with Post Malone and Morgan Wallen. Like, I thought that was so cool how you guys were, out there drumming up some votes and, doing your original lyrics to it. And that was just so cool.
Oh,
with you guys
thanks.
doing
Yeah.
that.
Trying to always stay creative. That's the side of being in a band these days. It's not just writing music. You
Right.
got to have an internet presence, and some bands are really good at that.
Yeah.
And we're learning and trying to get
For
better
sure.
at that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a medium that can help you, so why not use it to the full advantage, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you guys end up going in August to the Hamilton Tiger Cats show at Tim Hortons Field. Tell us about that. You're playing at a CFL game. Like, guys, this is a 22,000 seat stadium. That must have been pretty cool playing there for a pregame and at halftime.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, we played 2 shows that night, but that was the first one, and again, they treated us really well. I forget the names of everybody who was there, kind of helping us, guiding us around, but they set us up with a really nice, air conditioned room. It was really hot that day.
Nice.
To kind of hang out in and watch the game, and and then we went down and did our set, and the Hamilton locals are awesome. They love football.
Steel worker, blue
Yeah.
collar, right?
Yeah,
Blue
yeah,
collar.
and they love live music,
Yeah.
which live music has kind of fallen off a little bit, I think, in especially just for shows, but we had a huge crowd of people just wanting to be there and wanting to listen to a new band, and a lot of people come up and talk to us after. and hanging out with them and talking football and talking sports, just in general was really cool. And yeah, I mean, it was kind of surreal seeing, because we had just released through on a record that piano tune, the Bruce Springsteen
Absolutely,
influence,
absolutely.
and that was
That's
kind
a
of
cool
plastered
tune.
on the board, at halftime. So it was really cool to see that. We were taking pictures and
Right.
doing all that. So yeah, and the I don't know who's responsible at the Tiger Cats for it, but they.
Mark McGinley.
Mark McGinley.
Yeah.
He's kind of started this initiative to have local talent come and play that stage.
Nice.
Down at Stipley Stage. So I think that's a really cool opportunity, because that's, the people who are playing there are local bands and acts just like us.
Right.
So that was a really, really cool gig to play.
Well, good for them for like seeing the value of having you guys. Like, obviously, the demographic they're shooting for is, males, 20-somethings, going to the Tiger Cat game. So why not bring guys like yourself and hitting it out of the park, getting the fans all fired up? Like, good for them for, bringing value with you guys and the other bands to the Tiger Cat games.
It just shows you how much sports and music come together. Right?
Absolutely.
Like, we're predominantly a sports podcast here, but you can bring music on because you guys are also sports fans, right?
Yeah.
I had a lot of people say that. They said, "Oh, you're bringing them on, talk about the radio." Yeah, but we'll talk about sports too, because I had somebody text me and they said, "How do you become a Flames fan in Stratford?"
Well, I was born in Calgary. I lived there for 2 years. And when I say that I lived there for 2 years, I was 2 years old. So, I would go back every now and again to visit my parents' friends. But when I was kind of forming, what team I was going to cheer for, everybody was a Leafs fan. I have a few Senators and Canadiens fans, but I thought, maybe I should be a Flames fan.
Right.
Because I was born there and I could say that,
Sure.
So, and Jerome McGinley was a huge influence for me growing up. So yeah.
On the bass?
Yeah, on the base, exactly. Yeah. You wouldn't see it in my hockey playing. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah.
Well, I remember seeing you at the Almond Arena, Noah, when you would show up and
Yeah.
play there. And
Yep.
John, I'm sure you've played your fair share of hockey too. And
Oh yeah, played
yeah.
in Warriors growing
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
So, which NHL team do you?
I'm a huge Leafs fan.
Good.
Yeah,
Love
huge
it.
Leafs fan.
Love it.
Glad to have you.
One noteworthy thing though is my mom's first cousin Don Maloney is the president
Nice.
of
Okay.
the Flames.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yep.
I like the
Oh, that's
Flames, and it's
cool.
cool that they're.
That's the same one who was in Arizona.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
the GM of the
He's
Phoenix Coyotes.
Very
back
well
in the day.
noted in,
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
in the league for sure.
It's tough being a Leafs fan, though.
Yeah, I'm
It is
trying my
trying.
best to take an even keel approach. Like everybody's calling already for. I've seen online people are wanting Mark Savard,
Yeah.
their power play coach, to already be
Why? Because they're
fired.
32nd in the league in power play.
yeah,
I know,
like
but
they're-
like-
You look at their record, and it's the same record they had last year at this
Yeah.
time.
I
So
know.
I understand you get Leaf fans that see everything through the blue glasses, right?
Yeah.
And they want to press the panic button anytime they can.
Well, we got them the same result every year, so
I love it that Berube has instilled defensive awareness, because before they you had Matthews lighting it up 60 times. They thought they could play that same sort of style in the playoffs. And as you guys know, it's a totally different game come the playoffs. And what you've got to get out of people's heads is no one was afraid of playing Toronto come spring. And now if Berube can get some muck in and get some people and play a different style, obviously, yes, you have to score. But if they can get some other things, get some, it all starts with the goaltending. Stollerts has played well. And if they can get, the rest of the team buying into what he's selling, I think that, it could be the year. I know we always tell ourselves this,
Could be the
John,
year.
but
Yeah.
could be. It could be.
never
There's
know.
always next year, right? Always.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
But the thing I noticed, like the two games on the weekend with the Leafs, is there was a little more pushback from the top guys. Marner throwing a punch here and there. Matthews coming in, and I don't understand why Morgan Riley's sitting there doing nothing. But we got the Habs fan over there in the corner chuckling, and it's
Marner
all
threw a
that.
punch, John.
But,
Oh, there you go.
but then you had Willie Nylander said he wanted more ice time. Berube goes, so
Yeah. I do
You
think
get the ice time he gets, right?
I think they're at a good spot though. Just like, you know, at this point their core is fully developed, and you know they had a little bit of a, you know, more of a brutish introduction to the NHL, having Babcock as your coach, like more of an authoritative coach, and then they obviously rolled back, bringing Sheldon Keefe in, and he was, you know, I'm sure he was hard on them sometimes, but he came in and set the tone as being everybody's buddy and the anti-Babcock. So then when he tried to shed that, I'm your friend, and try to get serious, maybe they would play some good games for him, obviously, but obviously his message just kind of got stale, and they kind of rolled it back and with the sterner coach. And I think I was rooting for Berube to be the one to get hired by the Leafs, so I'm glad he's getting a shot at it. And you know, you've got all these guys who are like 26 through 28 now, and time to show it or go.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Like, they're getting paid, and I hate to say it, but when you're getting paid that much money, you better have results.
Yeah.
And you know, I know that, you know, your Habs would like to be able to have guys they could throw money like that at.
We're just playing rope-a-dope.
Right.
It's all good.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
But
Noah,
go ahead.
you said you haven't had much time to follow your Flames this year.
No, not this year.
They started off well,
Yeah,
but now they've really come back to what everybody thinks they are.
you're right.
Markstrom goes in there the other night and shuts the door on them.
Yeah,
That's a tough one for you guys, right?
Yeah. I mean, what are we? Are we 1-1 in the Battle of Alberta this year? Yeah. I mean, that's to me, that's what really matters. as a kind of a casual fan at this point.
Yeah.
No, you need ultimately, and I'm just saying as an objective fan, you are looking for resurgence in guys like Huberdeau and Kadri who want to be there, who are going to be there, along with the studs, Uyghur and the other examples. And I think, you know, even though they're maybe coming back down to earth a little bit, there's that stimulation there. And I think it's good news for your team.
Yeah, definitely. I think having that you know, kind of cornerstone player like back, you know, with Iginla, even Dion Phaneuf when he was played for the Flames, somebody who's passionate about being on the team, even if they're not there forever, you know, that can really change the momentum of your season, right? And I think the Leafs were searching for that, and they got that in Matthews eventually, I think. So yeah, I really hope we do find that guy, because I think they have potential, right? And there's a lot of young guys on that team who are moldable, and who could become those kind of passion guys. So
I think they need Matthew Tkachuk.
You know, they were right there for a few years, and then losing to Chuck was so big. Like, that was the hard.
Do you know
Well,
what?
it was-
You
it
know
was
what's
the
incredible,
Goudreau
Noah,
and the
is
Tkachuk, right?
you know, there's a lot of comments about losing Goudreau for nothing and Tkachuk basically for, you know, a guy that didn't work out. Who was your GM at that time?
oh, I don't remember.
His name's Brad Treeliving. He's in Toronto.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah,
So there's a Mitch Marner situation coming up. So I guess we'll see how that goes.
right.
That's
But,
going to be interesting.
We just won't throw stones.
Well,
That's all it is.
and you know what? I give Marner a lot of credit. Like, he's leading the Leafs in scoring right now. Like, he's doing everything
for 6
at
and
this
17,
point,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So it all boils down to, like, he's looking for a big payday. You've got Nylander, the top paid right winger, and I'm sure Marner wants that moniker. But with that sort of price point,
I'm not going to say anything at 13 games in. The only thing I will say about an observation is I see Tavares, cool as a cucumber, going, guess what? I'm not the captain anymore.
Right.
And I see Matthews, who's an absolute elite scorer in this league, holding the stick a little tight.
He
Yeah, but
is.
everybody's, you know, Matthews having a down year. Well, he had 13 goals last
I'm not saying
year.
he's having a down year, just
You know,
a slow
six,
start.
6 goals in 2 games. He's not going to be on that pace his whole life. But did anybody happen to see the little controversy on Hockey Night in Canada Saturday night?
Well, I didn't see it, but I was reading about
Have
it with
you read about Jennifer
Botterill.
Botterill and Kevin Bieksa?
Yeah.
So there was the incident in
It was over
Montreal.
your
Yeah.
Habs.
Jack Eye.
Yeah.
Jack Eye threw a knee out after Achari hit Slokowski and knocked him out of the game. Jack Eye threw a knee out, and Bieksa pretty much said, well, it's, you know, an eye for an eye. And Botterill just lost it. Like,
I heard about
there's,
that,
yeah,
yeah.
there's no room in the game
Matters
for
of
this
opinion
anymore,
are
so,
exactly that.
Right.
You know,
and that's what BX
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
He said we can agree to disagree.
I'll take BX's side just because he's put in 15 years.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Botterell
Fair.
is very intelligent when she speaks. I think
Yeah.
that she brings a lot to that broadcast. I think she's excellent at what she does. It's one opinion against another. It's
I
not women, men. Like,
I think the
let's
best
knock
thing
that
that
off.
was said was Bieksa blames the Pittsburgh coach for putting a Charlie out there at that time point in the game.
Sure.
You know, you can't put him out there and expect nothing to happen.
I still
Peace.
miss Don Cherry.
Well, let's be honest, right? It's
We're at the
in
anniversary of the
entertainment
you
business. Like that's like
That's true.
I'll tell you right now. Ever since they got rid of Coach's Corner, like just think back in the 90s and early 2000s. If you were at a party or doing whatever, you stopped the music. You stopped what you were
You're
doing
not exaggerating.
to
That's what would
listen.
Oh, yeah.
happen.
to listen
Yes.
for that
I-
5 minutes what Cherry was saying. Love him or hate him,
Oh.
people would stop what they were doing when they were at a function and listen to what he would say.
Yeah.
We don't need to go into all the
Razor,
gory
but the best
details.
part of that was love him or hate him. They show blue at the end, and if you had, like, I remember sitting in my brother-in-law's shed with my other brother and all this great stuff, and someone would say, "Oh, you know, F that," like whatever, and then it would be a conversation for the entire rest of the game.
Right.
That is the sizzle
Yeah.
of the steak with Don Cherry, and regardless of the opinion of anything that he said, guys like us miss him. And I'm not saying what he said was right or wrong, or I don't want to get political or
Right.
whatever it is. That whole broadcast misses Coach's Corner.
I
That's
just
what
find
it is.
I just find the Sportsnet, and I'll be totally transparent. I find them very bland. I don't listen to them unless Biz is on it. Like if you ever get a chance to watch Biz on TNT with Gretzky and all of
Yeah.
them, it is entertaining. They're laughing. They're
Heavily opinionated and,
Right.
and talking about different topics and all that, like Cherry did, but one sentence completely crippled the whole thing. Why are people tuning into Biz? Why are
Yeah.
people loving Bieksa?
yeah.
It's because they're going against the grain of friendly sitting around the table and talking about the hockey game. It's not all rainbows and butterflies.
Well, and they bring
right?
humor too. Like, I don't care about the X's and O's. I don't sit and watch the intermission to be
100%.
wowed by the X's and O's, how this team broke out. Like, I can see that. I don't need them to break that down. But I want to, listen to entertainment, whether it's Cherry or Biz or...
Yeah.
Like even Gretzky's got. I didn't know. Like he's my all-time favorite. I didn't know how he was going to translate into TV. He's done a good
he's
job.
doing all right.
Yeah, he's
doing all
loosened
right.
up over time. I've
He
watched a
has.
lot of
He's
clips.
a good
yeah.
wingman. He's
Yeah.
not a pilot. He's a
Right.
good wingman.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wish I had TNT, but I don't. And I've got a buddy, Mark Strauss. He's got one of those rocket sticks, and he gets all the U.S.
yeah.
channels, ESPN, and all of them. And I'm like, dude, like you are like.
That's where I watch. That's where I watch Saturday Night Hockey.
I watch-
Is the
Right.
U.S. feed
Yeah.
because I'm sorry, but Craig Simpson,
Yeah.
one of the he's a 50-goal scorer in the NHL. He, I'm sure, would give massages to any Leaf that would ask. Like he's that bad. It's horrible.
I
Like,
Well,
it's
they give him
horrible.
hair care products, right? Like he's got perfect hair, but
I like the TNT feed because I like their in-game reports.
Well, it's just so
and they're-
non-biased.
yeah,
for sure.
It's a focus of the game lesson,
Yeah.
and you just nailed it. And I get where I live. It's a Leaf bubble that I've grown to accept, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you're a Flames fan. I'm a fan of a different hockey team. Like it doesn't get redundant when you're a fan, but when you're not a fan, it really gets a little bit much.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
that's
I mean,
all-
I'm
that's
a
all I
Leafs
would say
fan
about
too
that.
enough that it doesn't tend to bother me. But
Right.
I've seen it with my dad, Phil. He's a Leafs fan.
Up until the spring.
Frustratingly, but then he's a Philly fan at heart, right? So,
Oh,
so
dear.
it's a tough
I like it.
yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
good
I
young
like those
team in
guys.
Philadelphia.
I'll tell him to listen. I'll tell him to listen to the podcast because he'll tell me more about how he feels about that kind of
all I can say is Philadelphia. They got that goaltender that's 6'8"
Oh yeah,
7 foot, 8 foot. I don't know what he is, but my God, he's huge.
he's a monster. Yeah.
6 foot something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The height of the goalies in any league nowadays.
Well, Stoller's is
huge.
6'6". Like, go figure why he's doing so well.
There's 2 kids in the Go GHL. They're 6'7".
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
they're just big lads. That's a lot of puck.
But
Not
the
a lot
thing,
of room, right?
Like,
Right.
and not being all over the place here, but I watched the game last night with Minnesota, and I was saying to my partner Janet, I'm like, where is Minnesota supposed to shoot it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Stolar's is huge.
He's a
he covers
monster.
all the net.
Yeah.
And for Boldy to put that in at the end there, I was like, you had to make him squabble a bit because there was no room.
Yeah.
Like I loved it
But,
when they had the Battle of Alberta, you know,
Yeah.
back in the heyday in the 80s with Gretzky and
Yeah.
Lanny McDonald
Oh,
and all
yeah.
of them. And you had Mike Vernon, who's like 5'5", and then you had Grant Fuhr, who's, you know,
5'9",
maybe 6
5'7".
feet, like
Yeah.
total, right?
With
like,
DNRs.
Oh, I love those
Yeah.
DNRs.
Oh, yeah.
But like you look at the monsters that they have now. If you're under 6'3", I don't think they look at you.
But and you would notice this obviously as a career goalie, but I noticed like as a forward, even on Sunday mornings when I try to pull the wickets, they have those extra,
Yeah, they cross it over.
extra 6
Yes.
inches,
Yes.
both sides. That's a
Yeah.
foot.
Yeah.
So to try to pull it, I go, I'll still put it in, but okay, it's a little harder than it used to.
I
be.
wouldn't even know how to put the pads on. This is showing you my age, John. But when I played net years ago, like it is nothing like the pads that I see now. The pads are all loose and that because they go down and they butterfly, and they don't want them being tight because when they go down and butterfly, they want them to be square on the ice. Well, back when I played, you were taught to stand up. So if you went down, like your pads would like kind of roll under you. Like,
Right.
that doesn't happen anymore. It's just
Yeah.
and it was like deer hair that would get wet. It was like 100 pounds. Like it was totally
Yeah.
different.
We
Oh, yeah.
and you guys will probably talk on the way home, and John will be to know what was Razor talking about with pads. Just kidding.
Deer hair.
No, I understand how
Yeah.
equipment plays such a big
Oh,
role.
it
Like
evolves.
even think about in 2015, like before they kind of nerfed the goalie equipment. I think they made some additional restrictions on goalie equipment, and like when was it, like 2018 or something like that? And I remember Brian Elliott was complaining because they made them take the shoulder pads down, and he was getting more bumps and bruises. And I think
Right.
Ryan Miller wasn't too happy about it.
Right,
And
yes,
Roberto
yeah.
Luongo, because they had the absolute Muffin Man
Yeah.
Yeah.
shoulder pads on. But I think it is good for the game because if you think back to 2015, Jamie Benn won the scoring title with 85 points.
Right.
Meanwhile, at this point, your best offensive defensemen are getting like 90 points a season.
Right.
And, like,
And that's what
McDavid's getting
sells the game,
130.
right?
Yeah.
That's what sells
Absolutely.
the game.
Yeah.
Nobody
Well,
wants to
Cooch,
watch a
all of them.
1-0 game,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you,
Yeah.
like you want to see a 6-5. You know.
Well, even last night, watching Minnesota and Toronto, it was 2-1 in overtime. Was it 2-1 in overtime? And you know, I appreciate it because I'm a hockey fan. But if someone's watching that and trying to enjoy it because maybe they're watching Jake Middleton or maybe they're watching their favorite Leaf, whatever that may be, it was a pretty boring game. But I understood the chess match that it was. You know, Toronto trying to compensate for, you know, their heavy travel schedule over the last little bit. They had a back-to-back with a 6 o'clock game last night. Like, I get all that. The common fan doesn't, right?
Yeah.
So,
I missed the Leafs game because I was at a New York Rangers game on Saturday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you were saying you were
Yeah.
in NYC. What was going on there?
Just do an annual boys trip with a couple of my buddies, and we like to go to different random American cities. So we've been to Pittsburgh, Chicago, Detroit, and we did the Big Apple this Saturday.
Nice.
We saw the Rangers against the Senators, and
Okay.
it was a low-scoring game, but it was very entertaining because Igor Shesterkin is one heck of a goalie.
He is.
He'll be the
Just
reason that
shutting it
you
down.
Oh, he
Yeah.
shut the Leafs down when they were in Toronto there a
Oh,
few
yeah.
weeks ago. But
And isn't
wow.
that such a beautiful arena?
Oh, it was too cool. I'm probably the bigger hockey fan out of the two guys I was traveling with, and I'm like, boys, like I know it's like Toronto prices here still, but we got to go to a Rangers game just to
Right.
go to MSG, you know? Yeah.
and
It's like a
love those
cathedral.
trips. I was in Cleveland last weekend with some high school buddies. We saw Baltimore and Cleveland at a football game, and it was 25 degrees.
Unreal.
And there was about four football fields of all tailgate. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
We were in New York last March 2023, and the wife and I were there, and we toured MSG, right? And she goes, "Well, we can go to the Carolina Rangers game tonight." It was like $260 a ticket, right? And then she goes, "Wait, the Leafs are playing in Long Island tonight." So she goes online. She gets 2 tickets for $260, and we're sitting right over top of the Zamboni entrance.
Nice.
Yeah. And that, for me, you get to see it in a different arena. And the USB arena is it's a beautiful new arena.
Yeah.
But some of the vitriol that I saw there against John Tavares was just out of this world. Like, there was a guy with a noose. And you wouldn't get away with that in
Yeah.
Canada,
Yeah.
for sure. And I was just like, what the heck is going on here? And they're showing him on the Jumbotron, too. And I'm going, what the heck? And then every time Tavares touched the puck, it was like they were ready to kill him. Like, people were just yelling and
Jeez.
screaming. Oh,
Oh man.
but
People demand success, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two
Guys, with
playoff
all this
rounds.
talk like of music, your love of hockey, like we've got to figure out a way. I know you guys had done a show. I think it was not this past fall, but a year ago, with the Fightin' Irish at the Rotary Complex. Like we got to get you guys playing at an Irish game or something. Like we got to get you guys, coming out there. I don't know if you guys have ever been to an Irish game yet, but that's entertaining. They
Yeah.
they're hitting it out of the park with their entertainment value and stuff, and so would love to see you guys collaborate again, whether it's at the Rotary Complex or actually live in one of the corners at the Allman Arena, doing something. That would be cool too.
Yeah.
Because they had like 1,200 people at their playoff games last year. Like it was just insanity.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. But
Yeah, we've been watching a lot of what they've done with the. We were talking about social media, and then all of the kind of innovations they've made to, I guess minor hockey in general, like
Right.
the experience of minor hockey, and that's really cool to see. And I've always said, like I tell my dad this all the time, that if we ever wanted to do one big show, we should do it at the Allman Arena.
right,
Like
that would be cool.
If we could swing it, if we could figure out something to do, like it would be cool if it ever got to that point.
Like even in the summer, like you guys are too young to remember, but they used to have Festival City days at the Allman Arena.
All right, Razor.
Right.
Okay. All right.
that might be before their time.
Right, but there used to be big events
Oh, yeah.
at the Almond, and
Yeah.
so
Some
hey,
wrestling.
Let's make something happen, guys. That would be unbelievable. Like
Yeah.
talk about like a great venue, and you have all the fans sitting in the stands, and
Yeah.
that would be super cool. Maybe. I don't know, like you've got the Blues Fest and stuff. You guys are obviously too big to be on that little stage there at Lakeside Drive, but
Oh, we do that we go
Yeah,
up there
they were
every
there.
year.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
They
Yeah.
can fit a solid capacity.
Too bad
in
it
that
was
area, too.
48 degrees last year.
oh my
Yeah.
god,
Yeah, it
it
was
was
real
so
hot.
hot.
Yeah.
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 But what else are you guys up to? Like, tell us what you're working on right now.
We got to cut
We
to
gotta- we
break.
gotta take a
We got to
break.
cut to break.
We got to cut to
We
break.
got to take a break.
All right, we'll cut to break, and then you guys tell us what you guys are up to, and then
Sorry.
Do you want to go
Razor
through
was
some
on a roll.
sponsors?
all right. So we got a few more sponsors to thank here.
Yes, the Urban Barber established in 2019. 3 barbers appointment based barbershop, full barber services. We are ready for your visit. Janet Lang out of Home and Company, local real estate broker, over 20 years of real estate experience. She has coined the phrase putting the real in real estate for all your real estate needs.
And Brighter Vision, counseling, psychology, and wellness, providing compassionate and effective counseling services to individuals and families in need. They provide a safe and supportive environment where everyone can heal and grow. And Bentley's Bar, Inn, and Restaurant, friends of our guests here tonight, official bar and restaurant of Armchair.
You got to talk into
Chirpers.
the. Yeah, sorry.
20 draft
go.
beers on tap, daily food specials, a fabulous place to spend the night in their lofts and executive suites. Locally owned and operated by the Bentley family.
You guys always have a good show at Bentley's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we it's a little bit of a unique setup area.
Yeah, it's a tough
Yeah.
spot.
But we always
Yeah.
like doing a Christmas show there, and we'll be, I guess, there you go. There's one
Yeah.
free announcement.
Yeah.
December 28th.
Yeah.
We
All
got the
right,
big
mark
one.
it on your
December 28th.
calendar.
Yeah, December
Right.
28th.
All right.
We do our
Alright.
Bentley's holiday show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into a whole bunch of more information about what you guys are up to when we come back. But
Let's take a little breather here.
Beauty.
And so you found another bottom at the end of a bottle, a tough pill to swallow. It's so hollow, but it'll come around. You can take it on the chin, you can sink or swim, a little chance so you won't drown. You're at the end of the line and you feel like desperado. You met your match, yeah, I burnt you out.
So good. So good.
That's smooth.
That's
Love
Don't
it,
Get
love it.
Down on Me. You guys just released that last month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's
Yeah,
so
that's
good.
the newest one. Yeah.
How did that one come to fruition? What gave you your inspiration when you were writing that one, John?
I wrote that one when I was in Australia, and I had the guitar kind of plucky rhythm riff in my phone, and it was just a grueling flight, a long flight. We had like 2 pit stops before we got to Australia. I was visiting my little brother who did a year or semester abroad there, and so you can only watch so much Netflix or whatever on
Right.
the flight. So I just figured I'm gonna just replay this instrumental until I come up with something to say to it. And sometimes you just gotta do that, go make yourself go insane and just listen to it over and over and over again
Right.
until some words come
Well,
to
good
you.
choice, man. That sounds fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, really good. So tell us a little bit where you guys are going now. What are you guys up to? You got some world tours planned. What do you guys going? What do you got going on?
Yeah. I guess tomorrow we're meeting up as a band and kind of going over some of that stuff. Probably album artwork is the next thing on the agenda. We're kind of putting together an album of some of our older songs and a few new ones too. So we do have a few new songs coming out in the next couple months.
Oh, great.
That'll be on the album. But we're going to work with Jeff Wood at Little Big Creative here in Stratford.
Okay.
And he's done artwork for us for a lot of our different projects. Like
Twisted Muse cover poster there. That was Jeff Wood.
I know the one.
And
Yeah.
did he
Andrew
not?
McArdle.
He did your video of Hey Shitty out at in Mitchell.
Yeah.
Is that Jeff that
Yeah.
did that? Okay.
Yeah.
At the old fall fair.
Oh
Yeah.
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 That was a good time.
Yeah.
And he's got really good vision, and because he's worked with us for so long, he kind of understands where we are with that. So, we have a few things to figure out, some social media marketing strategies to put together and numbers to crunch. But we're taking a bit of a break for shows to kind of get the album over the finish line. We've got Bentley's December 28th in Stratford, which is
Penciled.
always a good time. If anybody's listening that wants to come out to that.
Well, if anybody
come
hasn't
on
been
out.
to that night that you guys do out there, it's literally the who's who of Stratford, and I'm not exaggerating. It's a full house. Get there early. What time do you guys take the stage that night? Ish, like, is it usually about 9:00?
Yeah, probably 8:30 to.
So show up at 4 and have
For the
some dinner,
pregame.
and then no shots before 8:30, and away
We
you go.
will be doing something different for that show. Like, typically we don't do any like 3-hour shows anymore. Like, it's just we're focused on the original music and stuff. But
Right.
we'll be getting some acoustic guitars out and stuff, and like doing some new covers and just like playing a very, very long set and just
Just
having
all
a
good
time
news, man.
with it.
That's
All
awesome.
good news. Is there any friends joining you on stage for any special appearances? Or not at this point.
Well, Brady's girlfriend, if she's around, she'll probably join us for some tunes.
Perfect.
Nice.
She on our not our most recent release, "Don't Get Down on Me," but the one prior that we talked about through on a record. She's got some backup vocals in the chorus on that. So she
Okay.
also joined us for our Music in the Field set to bolster the sound too.
Awesome.
Nice,
Awesome.
nice. So
That
when
is cool.
do you figure this next album's dropping?
I mean, we can't make any promises because we still have a few things that timeline-wise we
Stay
don't have
tuned.
figured out. But we're kind of hoping early next year, January, February, in that realm. And around the same time, we'll be booking not a world tour, but a Ontario and maybe not Ontario tour.
like
so
we were
we're kind
talking
of
in the
booking that.
like we were talking in the intermission there. When you guys get a date, let us know, and maybe we'll get you on. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, we would
100%.
love to have you guys and promote your new music and help you guys any way that we can.
Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And plus, you know, we just like having you guys on.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's fun. We love
you're
talking
Yeah.
hockey.
approachable
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, it'll be our debut LP that will be finally dropping, and
huge.
yeah, and we've got all the mixes back. If anybody's listening that knows kind of the process with music, you get all your mixes together, and then you get them mastered. And then I guess an aspect that kind of pushes it down the timeline is we're working with Jeff Wood from Little Big for the artwork, but we're also hoping to print some vinyl records too.
That is awesome.
Nice.
I was just gonna ask, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
does anybody do vinyl anymore? Like, you know, it's
Jordan's
I know
got
it's a throwback,
Oh, it's
but
Jordan's got a
it's
huge collection.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
He's got a
huge.
huge collection. Of
but I
vinyl.
didn't know like if any like modern today type, you know, personalities would ever
Oh,
press
there's a
vinyl.
resurgence. There's
Okay.
a resurgence.
Yeah.
a lot of people are
Vinyl's
throwing
huge.
out vinyl now because it's really made a comeback.
So I guess the only promise that I would ask you guys to make is if you could possibly allocate time for us in the future and come back on, and hopefully we can get the other boys on, Jimmy, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
we gotta have the whole group
Oh, yeah.
on.
Yeah.
and you know, just have a lot of fun like we did tonight. And
We
you
can-
know, I cannot put a bigger exclamation point on how thankful we are for your time tonight.
Thanks for having us. It's been a
Yeah.
lot of fun, and yeah, going on tour in the new year. There, we're ironing out our availability tomorrow night and getting a record out next year too. So we're excited. And yeah, you guys are doing something cool too in town. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Well, we really appreciate it, guys, and you know, we're blessed to have local talent hitting it big, and folks with this new album. They're probably going to be at Sam the Record Man signing autographs, but
If only they could. The only reason why they don't exist anymore.
Right.
But, that was
down
a
on
good
Young
time.
Street, there used to be like this great big, like light up record, like it
Neon
looked like
lights, double records.
Oh my God, it was so cool.
This
back
is
in
Sam the
day.
Record Man.
I wonder if they'll bring
Sam.
back the cassette next.
There's genres where it's
really?
some of the really heavy metal guys they do cassette, kind of unironically. I had a friend of mine who was in
Wow.
a thrash metal band, and I asked him where they were, and he said we're just on cassette, no nothing else. we they don't do Spotify, they don't do anything else.
I found
Crazy.
a cassette at work in a filing cabinet in my office.
Yep.
Clearwater Revival.
Oh yeah,
CCR.
That's
it's
awesome.
an old one,
yep,
but we just don't have anything to play it on.
right, yep.
Well, guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for your time. And
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Cheers,
great.
guys.
Great having you.
Thank
we are so excited to watch what you guys are up to, and we look forward to watching your progress. And
Your journey.
you're welcome anytime to come back on the show. We'd be very grateful to be able to promote you guys any way that we can.
Thank you.
Thanks,
yeah,
guys.
and you guys are a big part of the local scene, promoting people like us. So
Yeah,
we appreciate it too.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
trying.
It's
what
all
we can
about
do,
helping
right?
each other,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
And if it gives us 5 extra viewers, we're even better.
There
Of
you
course.
go.
5 extra streams for us, and we're
Yes,
good to go.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Awesome.
it's been a great show. A lot of positive comments I've seen so far. So great having you here.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
you.
All right. Cheers.
Remember, it's okay not to be okay. Just start the conversation.
And just be sure to continue to follow us on our social.
Go.
What were you going to say?
Are we here next week?
Oh, for November 11th?
Yes.
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
No show next
We
week.
could have
folks.
did that after I finished,
Yeah, I
but
would-
okay, it's up to you.
I was just trying to remember in the middle.
Follow us if you can.
All right. Thanks, guys.